The purpose of today's lecture is to understand the difference between nominal and real GDP, an extremely important distinction in macroeconomics. First, let's start with the definition of gross domestic product as we covered in earlier lectures. GDP is nothing but the value of the output of all final goods and services produced within a country in a given year. Now, the word value has important connotation here. Now, how do you value a commodity? Now, in economics, we typically value a commodity or a good based on its price. So basically, if you are producing, say, 5 loaves of bread and each loaf costs, say, $2, then the value of 5 loaves of bread are nothing but 2 times 5, which is $10. So value of a good or GDP depends on two things. One is the price and another is the production. So it depends on price and it also depends on how many units you are producing. Now, in real terms, it really doesn't matter what the price is, because if I get to eat 2 loaves of bread instead of 1, it's always better. I really don't care how much is the price of the bread is. All I do care about is the actual goods that I'm consuming. So in economics, we need to leave out the effects of increase in price to get a better picture of how the economy is doing. And that's why economists try to differentiate between nominal and real GDP. So let's start with nominal GDP. Nominal GDP is the value of the production goods and services at current prices. Now, what is this word current prices means? That it means that it's not adjusted for inflation. So basically, we want to take out the inflation. So economists came up with another concept which is called real GDP, which values the production of goods and services at constant prices, which is adjusted for inflation. And what is inflation? Is nothing but general increase in prices. So real GDP does account for increase in prices. So real GDP shows how much is the actual change in goods and services production in a country. Question is this: how do we convert nominal GDP into real GDP? Before even we go in there, I'm going to show you some data on nominal and real GDP. This graph shows the real GDP. This blue line is the real GDP, and this red line is your nominal GDP. And you can see that most of the time real GDP is above nominal GDP, but after 2009 real GDP or nominal GDP is above real GDP. Now there's a reason behind it, and the reason is this: we often convert nominal into real by keeping prices constant. And in this particular graph, the prices are constant at $2009. Now what does this 2009 represent? It represents that we recalculated, say, the GDP in 1950, this nominal GDP, into real by converting the production of goods and services in 1950 into 2009 prices. So basically you take the 2009 prices and you look at the breads you produce in 1950, multiply by the amount of bread to 2009 prices, and you get the real GDP in 2009 prices. And that gives us a much better way to compare GDP over time. Now the question is, how do we do all these things? Now to do this, we'll use a formula where we'll just divide nominal GDP by something called price index. Now what is a price index? It is nothing but a measure of aggregate price in economy. Now every economy has thousands or millions of products that's been produced. Think about the goods and services that you've been using each and every moment. A price index is nothing but an aggregate measure of prices for the whole country. This price index is also often known as GDP deflator. That's another term we will use for price index. Now this graph shows the nominal GDP from 1947 to 2017, and you can see nominal GDP has gone up steadily. But the problem is this: prices has also gone up, and that's shown in this GDP deflator. And you can see prices has also gone up. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I really don't care about how much prices has gone up. All I do care about if we are producing more, because if we produce more, that means we get to eat more, right? Let's do a concrete example of how to make all these conversions. So let's look at the nominal GDP in billions of dollars for the year 1960, 2005 and 2010. In 1960, GDP was 543.3 billion, and mind you, this is a nominal GDP. This is not adjusted for inflation. And the price index or GDP deflated in 1960 at 2005 prices were 19. In 2005, nominal GDP was 13,993.7 billions of dollars, and price index was 100. And 100 since 2005 is our base year. In base year, GDP or price index is always 100. So let me put it base year price index. And in 2010, our nominal GDP was $14,964.4 billion, and the price index or deflator was 110. So we are going to use that formula where, again, remember the formula, the real GDP equal to nominal GDP times price index times 100. So in 1960, how do we convert this $543.3 billion in 2005 prices? So real GDP in is 543.3 over 19 times 100, and that gives you $2,859.4 billion. So this is the real GDP in 1960 at 2005 prices. Same thing we'll do it for 2005, but in 2005 the fact is that is the base year, so your real GDP and the nominal GDP are same numbers. In 2010, when prices has gone up beyond 100, and we can see there's a difference. So our real GDP is 13,604 billion, but our nominal GDP was 14,964.4 billion. Now, by using the same simple formula, you can always convert your nominal into real terms. And it is a very important distinction in macroeconomics. So in most of the macroeconomic data, you should be looking at real data. That means what's adjusted for inflation. Real data gives you a better picture of the movement over time.